Welcome to my morning report on Friday the 28th of August with me, Rich Pro Market Analyst at Handset Markets. The European session's got off to a fairly sort of corrective start really, and that's not massively coming as a surprise. I mean, we've had such a significant rebound yesterday across European markets and also into Wall Street. Wall Street closing strongly high on a very volatile day actually. S&P 500 up 2.4%, but the main driver was this oil price. Very strong move, over 10% on the WTI and Brent crude yesterday on oil. And they're just sort of consolidating a little bit today. I think these commodity prices still sort of driving the sentiment really, and that has resulted in these slight pairing of gains on these European markets, but not massively to be expected. And the volatility is there to a certain extent, but I think the fact that we're seeing a little bit of support coming through the forex markets now. Obviously in the last few days we've had strong moves on these forex pairs. We've started to see a bit of support also in gold. Gold has found a bit of a near-term low, so it's interesting that we're seeing these moves. Let me just show you the dollar index. First of all, just slightly consolidating, looking at the treasuries as well, slightly consolidating there on the 10-year yield. Look at the DAX, the German Bund, 10-year Bund yield, again consolidating. Could that turn out to be a flag pattern? Interesting. That would be very bullish if that was to be a flag pattern. Bullish certainly for equities anyway. So we've also seen the VIX volatility, again sharply lower on Wall Street overnight. So sentiment certainly seems to be settling down, and the positivity is just generally returning, although yes, we are slightly lower on European markets today. It's not anywhere near the selling pressure that we've seen earlier on this week. So that is basically the oil chart, where you can see the massive downtrend that has now been broken on oil. That is also being mirrored on the copper price, interestingly. So these commodities certainly seem to be maybe in the process of turning a corner, or at least they've bottomed for the time being. So very interesting moves there. So across these markets, very interesting charts that we're seeing, and I'll take you through the charts of all the forex majors, or the forex major pairs that I talk about anyway, in a little bit. But in the meantime, we've got a fair amount of data that actually could have an influence today. First of all, starting off with the UK GDP at 9:30. It's forecast to come in at second reading. This is forecast to come in at 0.7. Now, this chart, annoyingly, on Reuters, they only give you the second reading of last quarter's GDP, which was 0.3. But the preliminary UK GDP data was 0.7 for this quarter. So that's meant to be in line with that. Then you've also got the German inflation throughout the morning, culminating in a release of the national data at 1 o'clock this afternoon, and it's expected to come in line with last month's 0.2%. And then we've got the big number, the US core personal consumption expenditure for the US. Now, this is the Fed's preferred measure on inflation. Now, if this starts to pick up, could that be a bit of a hint, or give the hawks on the committee a bit of a push in front of that September meeting? Very interesting. Not expected to see an increase in inflation or core personal consumption expenditure. So if it stays at 1.3, I think that would probably be the final nail in the coffin of a September rate hike today. And finally, at 3 o'clock, you've also got the final reading of Michigan sentiment for the states, expected to come in at 93, which is slightly lower than the 92.9 that was last month. The flash data. So it's slightly in line, basically, with that. So lots going on again today, but the focus will certainly be on just still unwinding some of these gains that we saw yesterday, and the moves that we're seeing on the forex markets reflect that. And my chart today, I'm looking at the euro yen today, basically because euro and yen have both been strongly correcting in the last few days, and just wanted to show you through this chart that obviously that shows that the yen has been much stronger than the euro in the last few days, but it's signs of a turnaround again in the euro, and that would be reflective of an improved sentiment again, because obviously the yen is a safe haven trade. Picked up yesterday and a continuation into today's trading. These momentum indicators, generally speaking, are more sort of I'd say choppy, range bound, rather than showing any real direction. And yes, we have broken a sequence of higher lows on this chart, and also provided a little bit of a top pattern that actually gives us a downside target of pretty much bang on 135, which we there or thereabouts got yesterday, 135.23. So it's about 20 or so pips away from that implied target. We've now started to see the rally setting in. This is the hourly chart. We've just actually completed a little base pattern in the past couple of hours. So if you started to see that trading again, also that is a pivot level. Also 36.40 area. Old support becomes new resistance, and that's now being broken to the upside. So if you see also the MACD lines consistently above neutral, which they're turning out to be, you're also seeing the stochastics fairly well. That is pretty positive configuration on the stochastics, and also the RSI on the hourly chart pushing above 60, but I'd like to see it above 70 just to give confirmation of this little turnaround. But I think the outlook is beginning to improve, certainly I think for the euro against the yen, and that little base pattern, which you could, I suppose, measure, 35.40 down from 36.40 so it's basically 100 ticks to the upside, so that's 137.40, which basically brings you up towards this sort of resistance here of that rally high on the 26th, pretty much there or thereabouts. So that is your initial sort of target area, and again that's a bit of a pivot level over the past well, certainly early part of this week. So that's interesting. That could be where that move comes back towards, but certainly a little bit of an improvement, and certainly in the last few hours that is beginning to accelerate higher. So positivity beginning to come back through this euro yen chart. So I wish you good luck in your trading today, and I will speak to you later. Thank you.